Oh, hello, this is Tak Chung from Walk with Tak. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. One of the most important goals of my YouTube channel is to make home cooking as part of your lifestyle. And I call this a home cooking lifestyle. That you will consider home cooking as part of your daily routine. To me, this is very important, particularly if you want to make home cooking as a viable alternative to fast and processed food. Particularly if you want to take control of what you eat and what you put into your body. This video is a demonstration of what you can cook by intuition using template-based cooking. The end result is that they make your home cooking more spontaneous, creative, and fun. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use a noodle that frequently known as the Pad Thai noodles. It is a rice noodle that is slightly flat and is very similar to fettuccine. It is frequently referred to as Pad Thai noodle because it is made famous by the Thai dish known as Pad Thai, which normally cooked with shrimp and bean sprout. And it is famous in Thailand as a street food. You notice that the noodle is very broad. I use the same method to boil the noodles as I would boiling any other type of noodles. And the adjustment that I make is based on the thickness of the noodle. Because this noodle is thicker, I know I need to boil them a little bit longer than the one that is thin. Usually for the thinner rice noodles, I boil them for about 3 minutes. And for this one, I'm going to boil it for about 5 minutes. And since I like my noodles firm, I want to make sure that I do not overcook them. And I'm ready to remove them as soon as the noodles are slightly soft. Because I know if I'm going to make a noodle dish with it, I probably will cook the noodle just a little bit more. And to stop the noodle from cooking further, I transfer them immediately to a large bowl of cold water. This step is very important. As soon as I add the noodle to the water turns cloudy immediately. This is due to the rice starch associated with the noodles. To get rid of the starch, I rinse the noodle thoroughly in running cold water. I rinse the noodle until the water turns clear. I can use the noodles right away, or I can store it in the refrigerator for later use. And if you have been a viewer of my channel, you know from this point on, everything that I'm going to show you here is based on a basic template that I have done many times in the past. The result of this is a chicken vegetable Pad Thai. This dish is cooked in 2 separate steps. The first step is to shallow fry some chicken. I first coat the chicken with cornstarch and just a touch of sugar to cause caramelization. I also add some fermented black soybean. This will give the chicken a crispy texture. The added sugar causes the chicken to caramelize. The chicken will take on great flavor and you actually will not taste the sweetness of the sugar. The fermented black soybean will attach to the chicken and give the chicken some very interesting flavor. Next, I add a bit of scallion to garnish the chicken, and I'm going to set it aside. Now I'm going to cook the vegetables. Since this is about the end of my prep week, so I'm going to use up some of the vegetables that I still have some left. Again, this will allow me to cook with spontaneity without have the need to follow any recipes. And the combination of the vegetables is very much depend on what I have in my advanced prepping at the time. For this dish, I'm going to start out with about 2.5 cups of broccoli and followed by approximately 1.5 cups of cauliflower. I decided at this point the cauliflower and the broccoli made a little bit too large than what I like it for this particular dish. So I used a pair of scissors to cut the cauliflower into smaller pieces. I want to show you this because this demonstrates the spontaneous nature of this cooking approach. Next, I add about 1.5 cups of a Chinese vegetable known as choy sum, which is a mustard green vegetable. As you can see, this is improvisation at its extreme. As you can tell, I was very eager to clean up everything that I have left in my advanced prepping. Have I ever done this before? No, I have never used this combination. And you probably will ask that, how do you know that this is going to turn out okay? Well, based on my past experience, I know vegetable medley is probably the best way to cook vegetables. Because through this, you will get a different combinations of flavor and texture. And each time when I try out a new combination, I am always pleasantly surprised. So my advice to you is that don't be timid. Just try everything you think you can, particularly when you have different kinds of vegetables that you can combine them. This is in fact very similar when you prepare a salad. The only difference is that instead of mixing them in a salad bowl, you are cooking them in a wok. At this point, I'm adding some water to steam the vegetables. All these 3 vegetables require some steaming to reach the texture that is soft enough for you. And of course, you can control the textures depending on how long you steam them. And if you like them to be softer, you steam them longer. Here the vegetable pretty much reach the texture that I like. And I want them to be a little bit smaller to fit the noodles. So I get out my scissors and trim them down a little bit more. And to me, this is the nice part of stir frying because you can always make on-the-fly changes. And at this point, the vegetable softened up to how I like it, so I'm going to season the dish now. And I'm going to season it with 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce plus 1 tablespoon of hoisin sauce. And you probably noticed that I use this seasoning strategy very often. I have experimented with many different flavors in the past, and this turned out to be the one that I like most. I also add 1 teaspoon of minced ginger. The final step is that to add some color bell pepper. Again, this is what I found in my advanced prepping. And after the taste test, I add an additional half tablespoon of oyster sauce. Okay, the last step is to add the rice noodles to the wok. I cooked this noodle a day earlier, and I stored them in the refrigerator. Next, I use a pair of tongs to break them apart. If they are too cold, you can microwave them for about 30 seconds. Or in this case, I just simply mix them with the sauce in the dish. It takes me about 15 to 20 seconds to separate them. At this point, I have turned off the heat because I do not want to cook the rice noodle any more than what it is. I like them to have a firm texture. Next, I add the chicken to the wok and mix everything in. And now the dish is done and ready to be served. So as you can see, cooking this dish is very spontaneous and intuitive. Now, I have never tried this particular noodles before. And because I know the basic template of how to boil the noodle, how to cook the chicken, and then cook the vegetable, so combining all of these different elements together is very straightforward. And you might ask, what is the verdict of this dish? Well, I have to say it turned out to be excellent. I like the crispy texture of the chicken, and it provides a nice contrast to the softness of the noodles. And I also enjoy the 4 different combinations of vegetables in the dish. In the final step, I garnish the dish with some additional oyster sauce. This gives the dish a little bit more flavor as well as provide an interesting visual presentation. So what I want to show you in this video is that how you use template-based cooking to create variations. By knowing how to use noodles in a stir-fry dish, you can exchange different kinds of noodles. I have used other type of noodles such as wheat noodles, sweet potato noodles, and thin rice noodles for this dish. And now I have added the Pad Thai noodles to my repertoire. Okay, so keep on cooking. I will see you tomorrow.